Welcome to 99th Monkey Liberty News for Friday, July 25th, 2014. I am beginning today with an Infowars interview from yesterday with Dr. Hamamoto from UC Davis. And he's a brilliant man and always has a lot of interesting things to say. I found yesterday's interview to be particularly significant because he spent some time talking about the LGBT agenda and how it has been contrived in order to cover up the fact that we are being geoengineered as a species, that men are losing their masculinity. And this is a very, very significant issue. I don't have an axe to grind with homosexuals or other people who have alternative sexual lifestyles, but I do, I can't deny what the Bible says, obviously, but I personally have, through my life, had friends who were or are practicing homosexuals, and some of them are very dear to me still at this point in my life, and some of them played very significant roles in my life when I was a younger person. So I'm not a hater. That's not at all what this is about. This is about a concern over something that social engineers, evil people, are doing to us as a human species. And it weakens us in many regards, many ways. I won't get into the whole thing because I really don't want to take away from what Professor Hamamoto had to say here. I'm hoping that you will, if you didn't hear Alex's show yesterday, that you will bite the bullet and just watch this video. You have probably heard that the Ukrainian Prime Minister resigned, and I was looking for some perspective, so I turned to Washington's blog. And one of the things I found interesting here, I'm not sure if I'll be able to find it easily, this occurred because of restrictions placed on Ukraine by the IMF. And one of the things that the IMF was requiring of Ukraine was spending less money on social projects and more money on the military. And here it is right here. The 2014 budget project demanded by the IMF includes massive cuts in social spending coupled with increased allocations to the armed forces. Its adoption will contribute virtually overnight to a further process of the impoverishment of the Ukraine population. And social programs are not always something that I bang the drum on behalf of a lot, but this just is evidence of how the social engineers manipulate a population. In one place, they might be calling for more social programs. I'm thinking of here in the U.S. with the border, the open border, the social engineers and the puppets under their control are using that for their own political ends. In the Ukraine, they would be using the opposite for their own political agenda. So we really need to be wise as serpents, and we can't identify something in one place as the work of the social engineers and have that automatically translate into being able to be the means of identifying the work of the social engineers every place. We have to take everything case by case and just try to understand what they're doing. as opposed to just identifying behavior. And that is one way that, you know, they've held us captive in the past, is that we have identified certain kind of behaviors as implying one thing when actually we were wrong. we were duped, we were fooled, we were tricked. Infowars has an article this morning about Ukraine. Washington is escalating the orchestrated Ukrainian crisis to war. And as I mentioned the other day, I think 1 in 10 Americans think that we need to go to war with Russia over this, over the downed airliner, when it actually wasn't Russia who shot it down. And there's a lot of evidence to prove that now. But, you know, some people will have that stuck in their heads because that's the first thing they heard on the mainstream media news. And I have quotation marks around news there, because really what mainstream media mostly is editorial. So hopefully people will be wise enough to figure it out, and we'll all be able to share with friends and family the wisdom that we've gleaned and help them to that we can, you know, be that 99th monkey and transmit a wisdom and understanding and better ways of living. I have another Infowars article here. This was from a few days ago, and there was so much going on that this really caught my eye, stuck in my mind, but I didn't include it until today. Almost everyone involved in developing Tor was or is funded by the U.S. government. Tor was developed, built, and financed by the U.S. military surveillance complex. I have mentioned Tor in the past. I have used Tor, and here's the reality. And I was curious about where this was from. Pando Daily. So I looked that up, the website Pando, found it really interesting, and I thought I would share this website. And I had been searching for the original article, which I actually did not find. But I found some other really interesting articles. Report Google has removed around 50,000 links thanks to Europe's right to be forgotten. And, you know, that Google becomes more and more and more difficult to use effectively. And there's another article here that I want to mention. I just want to watch a movie. GOP congressman wants to investigate Google because no one can find his favorite movie in a search. Well, you know, to find a movie, go to IMDb. But this is a real issue. There are a lot of things that I search on Google. Well, actually, I use Start Page, which pulls in Google. Cannot find them. I know the thing is there. Cannot find it. And I mentioned IMDb. I almost think that we're going to have to go to some kind of a boutique search engine and look for certain kinds of things on certain search engines. I find myself, I very frequently will search, just go to Infowars.com and do a search there, because I know I'll be able to find it there, even though they do use Start Page, which pulls in Google. But sometimes I actually don't find the specific article that I'm looking for, but I can usually at least find something that I can use. And actually, one of the things that I have done with 99th Monkey, and that Don and I have done with Pearls of Liberty, is collect a lot of links. And, you know, I have between usually 3 and sometimes up to, I guess, like 10 or 12 reference links a day. So I can, if there's something I remember, I can just go to, either Pearls of Liberty or 99th Monkey and do a search and find, at least there, I know if something I know is there, I can find it. But again, it's an ever-increasing struggle using Google and even Startpage to be able to find what you're looking for online. And of course, this is done intentionally. Even I used to say that I could find things on YouTube. Well, yesterday there were some things I was searching for on YouTube. I absolutely knew they were there, and I couldn't find them in a quick search, even with the right keywords. So I'm really hoping that some entrepreneurs, some people who maybe even some crowdfunding, crowdsourcing people will put together some kind of a search engine that is viable, that's outside of the Google system, so that we can find what we're looking for. Like YouTube said, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Here from Liberty Blitzkrieg is an interesting article, The Insider Threat Program and the Government's War on Whistleblowers. I just wanted to mention this. This is, a struggle. It's a struggle to find truth online because of Google and YouTube inadequate searches, intentionally crafted searches. It's a struggle for truth to come out because whistleblowers are punished. And this is really something that we all need to press through. And I included this interview that Alex Jones had yesterday with Steve Pieczenik. And sometimes I absolutely love what Steve Pieczenik has to say and agree with just about everything. Yesterday, I found that I was uncomfortable listening to a lot of what he had to say. And Don and I were talking about this a little bit. The difference between nationalists and liberty people. Your alternative news. I don't know how to even. The word patriot is so overused, and let's face it, a lot of nationalists are patriots. But I noticed this kind of a division, even with some of our friends, that liberty people are rooting for BRICS and are advocating a break with the Federal Reserve System. And I think most of us want to hit the reset button. But we have a lot in common with people who I'm calling nationalists, like Steve Pieczenik. There is a real division here, and Steve Pieczenik, and I would guess quite a few military people have the image of America that was that we all kind of embraced in the 80s, that America has good intentions and whatever America does in the world is good because America has good intentions. And a desire, there's a desire to preserve the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency, because that does favor Americans, and there's no denying that does favor Americans, and that we will suffer to some extent if and when the Federal Reserve System collapses, which it certainly looks as if it's going to do. And BRICS will gain ascendancy. So I'm hoping that we can all really pull together. This is the dividing line, I think, is the Federal Reserve and the Federal Reserve dollar, the FRN. Who wants to continue to nation build and empire build in order to preserve the dollar, who wants to use the military in order to shore up the dollar, and who wants that entire corrupt system to be replaced. And I think we all need a lot of wisdom to navigate these waters. And if we are in conversations with people who want to preserve the dollar, I mean, hopefully we'll find gentle ways to communicate with them about the Federal Reserve and the evil that really has been done in the name of preserving the dollar, and the fact that to some extent we all have blood on our hands and really need to cry out before the Lord and ask for forgiveness and restoration and healing. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face. Here I have an Agenda 21 article, and I lest we forget, this struggle is still going on, and people who live in communities where this wave is already crusted and washed through. Now we're trying to rebuild and regain our sovereignty, but this struggle is going on right now in Long Island, and of course this is one of the places where a lot of wealthy people live, and a beautiful beach area. And the article is titled "How Agenda 21 is Ruining Long Island," and this is from the Independent Sentinel. A free country is armed with a free press. And of course, here's the infamous map of all the red and yellow and orange areas where they do not want you and me to live. So, hopefully these plans will fail. Hopefully it'll all just unravel, and that house of cards will come crashing down. And by way of encouragement, it was good to, Don happened to listen to this YouTube video yesterday, so I heard part of it. Senators Cruz and Sessions colloquy on stopping President Obama's amnesty. Both of these gentlemen were speaking about how Obama has complete disregard for the rule of law, for the Constitution, and even for the checks and balance offered by the Congress. I mean, I'm sure most people watching this video disagree with Congress about a large number of issues. But even when they try to do something good and restrain the president, he pretty much ignores them, completely stepping outside of the rule of law. And I guess the good news of the day is that people are becoming aware of this. And this is a CNN video. Poll: 33% say impeach Obama. And here are poll numbers. 45% believe he's gone too far. 22% believe he hasn't gone far enough. I don't know who these people are or what they're thinking, unless they're maybe they're dependent on him for their livelihood or something. But it's good to know that 45% of Americans believe that he has gone too far, and 33% are even saying impeach Obama. And this was on CNN, so who knows? There may be real numbers that are much higher, as according to that article that I shared yesterday about polls being manipulated. So we can continue to hope and pray that there is a ever greater awakening, that more and more people will realize how our republic is being dismantled systematically by globalists, and we will awaken in time, enough of us in time to prevent it from happening. Thank you for tuning in for today's 99th Monkey Liberty News. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, Have a great weekend. Take care and insist on liberty.